Hello, everyone. Good evening to all of you. Hope you all are doing good and keeping safe. Welcome to our series of virtual sessions. We are waiting for some more minutes to everyone to join the session, and then we'll start. Meanwhile, let's have a look on our one of our video of TechBee. I hope all of you by now are aware of what TechBee is all about. So let's have a quick view before we start our session today.
In India, there are few institutions which prepare you or make you job ready. So there is a lot of competition to go into that institution.
As we know in India, a guy who is pursuing BTech or MTech, he's doing his master. After that also he's unable to get a job. I interacted with so much technologies. I interacted with Java, C++, and I'm doing practical also.
Cloud computing, cybersecurity, operating system, basic and advanced, networking, basic and advanced, and parallelly we are learning communication skills also.
I, before getting into HCL TechBee program, did not know that I had leadership skills, good communication skills and all.
Giving opportunities to a 12th grade student, it's giving opportunities to fresh minds.
Let's wait for a few more seconds for people to join in. Okay, so let's start today. Welcome everyone to our series of virtual sessions where we have experts coming and share their perspective that helps class 12th appearing or fresh pass out students to take informed decisions. My name is Raksha and I'm part of HCL Technologies TechBee team. I hope by now most of you are aware what HCL TechBee is all about. But for the some who may not know, TechBee is HCL's early career program for academically brilliant class 12 students who want to pursue their career in technology right after class 12th. To know more about the program, you can visit our website, hcltechbee.com. So we all understand the stress of class 12th exams, the student face, not just before the exam, but during the exam day and after the exam, right? The post exam anxiousness while waiting for the results and what are the career options just after class 12th? What will be the success? What percentage I'll get? These kind of questions every student face who is appearing for class 12th board exams. So today's session is dedicated for all those students who are preparing for class 12th exams and need some direction or guidance to achieve the success. So today, to guide the students, we have Mr. Bhaskar with us. He is the co-founder and director of BCube and has spent over 25 years in the industry in both public and private sectors put together, out of which the recent 12 years have been the complete focus on training and development, competence assessment and mapping, and related areas. Mr. Bhaskar trained more than 35,000 individuals and around 800 trainers. He has been a resource person in a number of faculty development programs. He has till date, conducted train the trainer program for more than 800 trainers in the states pan India on aptitude, communication skills, and soft skills. Welcome, Mr. Bhaskar,
Thank you very much,
and
Raksh.
welcome to our session. Thank you so much for giving this opportunity to host a session with you, wherein we'll definitely add some value, uh, in terms of giving tips, wonderful tips and preparation strategies to our 12th appearing students, board appearing students. So, thank you so much and welcome to our session.
Yeah, it will be my pleasure actually.
So, sir, before we start with your presentation, I request the audience who is watching us right now to ask as many as questions they have in their minds, and let's make this event productive for all of you. So, over to you, sir.
Yeah, sure. So good to see all of you today in this session. I'll be spending the next couple of minutes, close to about 40 minutes. We'll look at how to prepare and emerge successful in your class 12 board exams. As part of this, we will actually be looking at 4 different components. We will first spend 1 or 2 minutes understanding the intro part of preparing for the exams. Then we will get on to discussion of some tips related to the various aspects you have to consider before the exam. And of course, then we will look at couple of things you have to implement on the day of your exam. And finally, we will look at what you need to do after the exam is done. Towards the end, we'll also have time for question and answer. So my suggestion is that all of you hold on to your questions, keep your questions ready. In case you want to share your question immediately also, you can see the comment window there on your screen. You can feel free to share your questions in the comment window, and we will respond to your questions towards the end of the discussion on these areas. Now, before we start off and get into the discussion, I have one question to all of you. I'm sure you're able to see this number 86,400 on the screen. A quick question to all of you. Use your creativity. Can you tell me what this number represents? What does it stand for? You can feel free to comment in the comment box. You'll have to tell us what you feel, what you believe this 86,400 stands for. Let's see how many of you are able to immediately respond to this question. $86,400 is the number that you see on the screen. What does it represent? Okay. So I can see some of you are typing in. As most of you are aware, 86,400 actually is the number of seconds that we have in a single day. We know a day constitutes 24 hours, and 1 hour is equal to 60 minutes. 1 minute is equal to 60 seconds. So if you multiply that 24 hours into 60, you will get the total number of seconds as 86,400. That is the number of seconds we get every single day. Everyone in the world gets the same number of seconds. Isn't that true? However, students who use this number of seconds effectively are the ones who are able to actually perform better in any exam. And that's applicable to everyone in the world today. Some students continue to say, look, time is not sufficient for me to prepare for the exams, particularly during the current year, where the lockdown, the COVID pandemic, all this has been impacting education across the country. I'm sure that some of you still have to continue to plan and create your own study plan, because now that the boards have decided, including CBSE has announced that in the next 1 or 2 days, the exam schedules are going to be released, which means you have to focus on this number of minutes, hours you're going to dedicate for your exam preparation. And do not say that you don't have time. That's what Jackson Brown Jr. says. He said, you have exactly the same amount of hours per day that were given to Michelangelo, Mother Teresa, Leonardo da Vinci, and of course Albert Einstein. So everyone in the world has the same number of hours, 24 hours multiplied by 60 minutes multiplied by 60 seconds every single day. It only depends upon how effectively, how efficiently you're able to use the time on your hand. And that is why people say time is money. Isn't that true? Of course, today we all realize it is more valuable than money, because time once lost can't be gained. Now, having said that, you have to understand that successful exam writing experiences, they depend upon a series of steps. Most students start their preparation at least a year before. Some students start 6 months before the exam schedule. Some students might start a month before. Now, of course, in the current year, because of the lockdown, as we were saying, because of schools not functioning, colleges not functioning, I'm sure that there's a lot of inconvenience for students in terms of being able to prepare effectively, covering the entire syllabus. Now that you still have about a month or two before you sit for your exams, this is the right time to understand things that you have to start planning right from today. If you're not started your preparation yet for your board exams, this is the day when you should start planning for it. And I'm sure that many students will agree, usually either before the exam or during the exam, students experience exam stress. How many of you experience this? If you are a student who experiences stress before the exam, let's say a month before, a week before, the moment exam dates are announced, some students start getting stressed. Are you that kind of a student? If yes, type 1, number 1, the digit 1 in the comment box. And there are students who would say, look, I never experience any stress because I'm already prepared. I prepare well for the exams. I know what will be asked in the exams, and accordingly I'm prepared. Now, if you are that kind of a student who never experiences any exam stress, either before the exam or during the exam, quickly type the digit 2, the number 2 in the comment box. Waiting for your responses. If you are a student who experiences stress either before or during the exam, type the number 1 in the comment box. Whereas if you're a student who doesn't experience stress at all, type the digit 2. Yeah. Wonderful. Good. So I can see responses coming in. Now, you know what? Stress is both good and bad. In fact, experts in this field of psychology, they say that there are 2 types of stress possible. The first one is called the eustress, EUSTRESS, eustress. So what is this eustress? It helps us stay motivated, and it will help you work towards your goal. It helps you feel good about what you're doing. Now, I'm sure when you start preparing for your exams, even when you start reaching the exam venue, when you sit in the exam hall, you have this excitement, the high level of energy, because you want to perform well in your exam. Isn't that true? You definitely want to score the highest numbers possible. You want to probably come out with the flying colors. You want to become the topper of your school, your college, your class. Maybe you want to actually ensure that your parents feel proud because of the scores you get in the exams. That excitement is actually called as eustress. And obviously, that kind of a stress is actually good, because it helps you remain on your tips, on your toes, and it will actually drive you towards performing well in your exam. So eustress, I'm sure some of you might have heard of this. Eustress is what is created because of the chemical enzymes called as pheromones. And of course, we have the other stress called de-stress. This is the stress that is the culprit, which actually creates the panic, creates the worry, creates the frustration, sometimes anxiety, the depression. And this is what we have to manage. Eustress happens by itself, distress also happens by itself. However, eustress is good for us because it forces us for higher performance, better performance. It helps us to perform better in the exams. It helps us to score better. It helps us to complete our preparation on time. De-stress, on the other hand, is the result of not being prepared for the exams. So are you prepared? Today as we speak, you know that you have close to about 2 to 2.5 months time. I guess the board exams are coming up in the month of towards the end of April and May. That's what's indicated by the CBSE board the other day. And some boards across the India are actually planning to conduct the exams for plus 2 towards the end of March. Maybe the practical exams will start towards the mid of March itself. So you have approximately 1.5 to 2 months time. As of now, as we speak here, as we discuss, are you prepared well? If not, you will have to manage, you will have to ensure that de-stress does not happen for you by doing couple of things. What are those things? We will look at things you have to do before the exam, right? Number one, guess what? You have to develop a study plan. Creation of a study plan is the first step towards preparing for any exam. You have the syllabus with you. There are a couple of things you have to do about that. And the second thing that you have to do is, sorry, you have to practice an active review. And both these steps are to be completed before your exams start. We will of course discuss more in detail regarding these two aspects. Number one, developing a study plan. How do you develop a study plan? What do you do? There are three main steps involved in this. The first step, you have to analyze, you have to ask yourself, how much do you know about the exam? What do you know about the exam? What does this mean? You should go through the previous year's question papers conducted by your board. You should look at the test pattern, the exam pattern. I'm sure these are things that some of you have already considered. Those of you who have not yet started doing that, this is the time for you to start working on that. Refer type of questions that are being asked. How many long answer questions? How many short answer questions? How many questions are based on calculations and problem solving? And you should also look at which are those specific chapters from which most of the questions are being asked. Is there a chapter from which a question has never been asked in the last 5 to 8 years? So maybe this year also question will not be asked. However, you can't afford to ignore that chapter completely. But what you can do is reduce your amount of effort on that chapter and put in more effort on the other chapters from which there are more questions being asked. So you have to ask yourself, what do I know about the exam? What is the time that I will have for each question? How many minutes can I allocate for the short answer questions? How many minutes for the longer answer questions? Will I have enough time to complete the calculations if there's a problem solving involved? And of course, the second thing you have to ask yourself while creating a study plan is, what is the course material that is available for you? Usually, you know that you anyway have access to your textbooks. Maybe you have your class notes that you might have taken while attending classes. In the last 6 months, we know that most of you have been attending online classes. I'm sure you have been taking notes from the online classes as well. Sorry. So you have the class notes ready. Isn't that true? So this class notes can become an excellent source for your reference. In addition to the textbooks and class notes, what is the other set of course materials you can get access to? Today, you know that the internet is full of free resources. For any board exams, you have lot of material, test preparation material available. You can definitely use it to your advantage. There are a lot of websites where the solutions are also posted for the questions in your textbooks. There are also a lot of websites where the last 5 years, 3 years, 7 years question papers are solved. The step-by-step answers are available. All you have to do is access these websites and then go through and download, if possible, couple of these question papers along with solutions. Refer to. All this is part of the second step in the course of creation of a study plan. So you have to first collate, you have to prepare a list of all the materials that you have with you, right? And then once you prepare this list of the entire course material you have with you, you will get the confidence that you have enough resources to prepare well for your exam. Got that? Now, before I proceed, I would want you guys to actually share with me which resource do you mostly refer to. Is it the textbooks? If yes, type textbook in the comment box. Is it the classroom notes that you prepared that you'll be referring to? If yes, type that in the comment box. Or is it the online material that you'll be referring to mostly. And I'm sure some of you might say, look, I actually referred to the class notes prepared by my friend or by my classmate. If that's the case, yeah, please feel free to share that information in the comment box. What is the course material that you find most useful whenever you prepare for your exams? That's the question I'm asking you. Feel free to respond in the comment box. Yep, quickly. Thanks a lot in advance for your responses. Now, the third component you have to consider is how much time can I realistically devote to prepare for the exam? Now that we know some boards across the country in different states have already announced the exam dates, and one or two boards are yet to announce that, and we know that they're going to announce the exam schedule in the next 2 days' time. We know that by February 2nd or 3rd, all the boards would have announced their schedules, exam schedules for the plus two, the 12th class board exams. Which means even by any measure, you will definitely have at least a period of 30 to 45 days at your disposal to prepare for this year's board exams. And that's a huge amount of time that you have. If you can prepare a study plan, it will help you to ensure that you come out with flying colors. So what is the amount of time you can realistically devote? I'm sure you have an approximate evaluation, approximate understanding of the amount of time you will need to prepare for each chapter in your subject, isn't it? Let's say you have 5 subjects totally, and out of these 5 subjects, which is that one subject which you usually feel difficult? Obviously you may have to allocate more time to that subject, and within that subject also, within that paper, you will have to go through the number of chapters. If there are 10 chapters, and if you plan to dedicate approximately 30 to 40 hours, let's say 40 hours for that subject, 10 chapters on an average is 4 hours per chapter. But if you approach that way, saying that you will allocate 4 hours preparation for each chapter, that may not be a logical thing to do. Because remember, we said that some chapters may not be as important as the other chapters for your board exams. So the chapters which are more important, obviously you have to dedicate more amount of time. Chapters which are less important, you will have to dedicate less amount of time. So accordingly, you have to ensure that you prepare your study plan depending upon how much time you will want to allocate for each chapter. Not only to each chapter, within the chapter, there will be long answer questions possible, short answer questions. When you prepare your basic concepts and fundamentals, and this is something you all have to do. For each chapter, you will have to prepare your own list of basic concepts and fundamentals, and then look at the application part of that, which means that is where you look at the various formula involved, if any. That is where you look at how to apply the concept to a given scenario and solve the problems given. So this is the third component. So if you look at the 3 things that we discussed just now, which are part of creation of a study plan, to summarize, number 1, how much do you know about the exam? Are you aware of the exam pattern? Are you ready to are you aware what will be the number of questions of each type? That's the first thing. Number 2, what are the course materials you have at your disposal? How many more course materials should we acquire in case you do not have access to the previous question papers? As we said, you may have to download from online. Number 3, how much time can you realistically devote to prepare for the exam? You should actually prepare a weekly plan for the next 6 weeks, assuming you have 6 weeks time. And week 1 to week 6, for each week, Sunday to Saturday, you have to prepare a timetable. Right from the time you wake up in the morning to the time you go back to bed in the night, you should divide your entire day into smaller slots of half an hour, 30 minutes each. Let's say you are in the habit of waking up at, let's say, 6 o'clock. Now, of course, in the last 6 months, because there are no colleges, I'm sure some of you have been waking up at even 6:30, 7 o'clock, probably even later. But assuming that you will now start deciding to wake up at 6 o'clock, 6 o'clock when you wake up, 6 to 6:30 in the morning, what are you going to do? You need to write that in your timetable, right? In your tracker. 6:30 to 7 o'clock, what are you going to do? If you say that 6:30 to 7, you will have bath and then have your breakfast, you have to write it down there. Because when you write it down, you will see clearly what you are going to do with the amount of time you have on your hands. And that is how you will know how many seconds of the 86,400 you are able to use effectively. I guess you understood that. Now, some tips to do this. Number 1, write or recite all important details from your memory. There are a lot of definitions, I am sure, in your subjects. You'll have to memorize some of them. Some of them you will have to memorize and be able to reproduce whenever needed. So even to apply the concepts, the definitions are useful. So when you commit the definitions to your memory, you should either recall all of them from your memory or practice writing it down so that it becomes engraved, it becomes etched in your mind, right? Many students have expressed earlier that when they write down what they have learned, it becomes strengthened in their memory. So that's one thing you also should do. The second thing is you should predict and answer the test questions. When you are preparing for your exams, when you go through each chapter, you should be able to identify which are those three concepts from which questions were asked last year, which are those two concepts from which the long answer questions were asked, which are those five concepts from which short answer questions were asked in the last 3 years. You should be able to identify and predict what could be the test questions that might appear in this year's board exams. And the third tip is you have to do a variety of problems. And that is possible only if you refer to the last 5 to 6 years previous question papers. Remember, that is a very valuable resource. You know what? When examiners have to create a question paper for that year, usually they also refer to the last 5 to 10 years question papers and then go through and see what are the questions asked in the last couple of years. Can I rephrase that question in a different way for this year's question paper? That's what the examiners do. And hence, you should also consider the same approach. You have to do a variety of problems. And number 4, preferably write your own short practice essays. Whatever concept you understood, you prepared well, you're thorough with that. See if you can write a short essay. Because when you write down, as we said, it gets into the brain, gets stored more effectively. And the 5th tip, make up mnemonics wherever there is difficult information to remember. Have you heard of this word mnemonics? Let me see how many of you are aware of this word mnemonics. If you know the meaning of mnemonics, quickly type in the comment box what you are aware of mnemonics. 10 seconds time for you guys to respond by typing your answer in the comment box. What is mnemonics? mnemonics, mnemonics. Yeah. You know what? Mnemonics is the science. It's a science. It's a proven science. It's a science that helps us to actually create easily rememberable concepts. You can use codes, you can use formulae, you can use acronyms, you can use abbreviations, whatever. For example, I'm sure those of you who have a mathematics background, in your +1, +2, you would have studied trigonometry. In trigonometry, to decide in which quadrant, whether sine theta, cos theta, tan theta, whether they're positive or negative, I'm sure you know that we all use this expression, the phrase called all students take care or all silver teacups. That helps us to remember first quadrant, which ratios are positive, negative. Second quadrant, which ratios positive, negative. Third quadrant, which ratios positive, negative. Fourth quadrant, which ratios positive, negative. That is an example of a mnemonic. And like that, you can create your own mnemonics. For example, if you want to remember the subheadings in an essay that you might have prepared for your exam, from each subheading, if you pick up the first letter of each subheading and join them to prepare a meaningful word, it becomes easy for you to remember, right? And hence, using mnemonics is also advisable when you prepare for your board exams. It will also be useful in all the competitive exams, entrance exams that you plan to appear for, right? Now, we have discussed how to develop a study plan. You should also practice active review, as we already said. What is active review? It is suggested that you create a visual map, a visual graph, a representation. It's called a mind map. Have you heard of this? Instead of just preparing a list of basic concepts, numbering them 1 to 20, 1 to 100, what I would suggest is, instead of creating a linear order, you can choose to create a diagram. At the center of the paper, write the chapter name, and around that chapter name, see if you can actually create branches using lines, using branches, using various colors. If you think that concept is more important, use a green color. If you think it's less important, use a blue color. You choose your colors. So when you actually complete preparing, reading, studying a chapter, instead of going on to the next chapter, you should plan to create a visual map of all the concepts that you have studied, right? When you create your outline, that outline can be converted into a visual representation, a graphical representation. You know what? You know why? Because we know the human brain, it seems, remembers, retains graphical information, images and visuals easily compared to remembering text alone. How many of you agree with this? Do you agree that your brain finds it easy to remember graphics, visuals, and images rather than remembering text? If yes, type in the comment box the letter yes. Just type yes in the comment box. And I'm sure majority of you will agree that the human brain is programmed to actually recognize and retain information easily through a graphical representation. So instead of just writing down notes, I am saying convert that notes, if you possible, into a pictorial representation, graphical representation using a mind map. The second thing is you have to work practice problems. In your textbook, probably there are 20 questions which involve application of 5 different concepts. But practicing only those 20 questions may not be enough for your exam. Because in the exam, in the board exam, the questions that will be asked could be of a slightly different model compared to the ones that are given in your textbook. So what do? You have to refer to as many questions as possible. As I said, the internet today is an excellent resource of free educative information. And that's the reason why, see if you can access as many questions as possible online. See if you can practice, solve as many problems as possible. Because the more the practice, the easier you'll find it to be when you actually sit in the exam hall. The third, of course, identify the types of problems. This we already mentioned earlier. Remember, a couple of minutes back we said, when you're preparing your study plan, you should look at how many short answer questions will be asked, how many long answer questions. What is the type of questions being asked? Are the questions based on definitions? Are the questions based on application of the concept? Are the questions based upon application of the formulae? Or are the questions based upon some analysis or distinguish between two different aspects, or comparing and contrasting, or are they essay questions? You will have to identify the approximate number of questions of each type that are being asked in your exam. Because when you go and sit in the exam, actually, it should not be a sudden surprise for you. The moment you look at the question paper, you should feel comfortable and say, yeah, I knew that this will be the format of the exam. This will be the pattern of the exam. And that is going to happen only if you thoroughly prepare by going through the previous year's question papers. Number 4, you should create flashcards. Flashcards, I'm sure you are aware of what are flashcards. If not, let me explain quickly in a couple of seconds. Particularly for subjects like the mathematics, physics, chemistry, or the sciences, including for commerce and accounting, you can still do that. Flashcard is a single card. It is of the size of a playing card. You know, playing cards 52 in a deck. You can cut out sheets of paper in the size of the playing cards. On one side, you write the question. On the other side, you write the answer for it. So wherever you have short answer questions, you can create the flashcards like that. In fact, to remember formulae, it is advisable to use flashcards. If you have a lot of formulae in your subject, physics for instance, even accounting, commerce, you might want to remember a lot of rules that need to be applied for accounting principles. So what you can do is, if you're worried that you might forget, right? Let's say a loan taken by a business, should it be under debit or credit side? If you're not sure about that, if you think you'll find it difficult to remember, create the list of all those concepts and then create separate flashcards for each of them. Flashcards are a set of cards. On each card, you just write down one single concept. So when you're free, you have nothing else to do. When you're free, when you're relaxing, you can just take out the set of flashcards, keep going through each of them randomly. That will help you to recollect the concepts easily. Flashcards is an excellent concept used worldwide. And try it now in the next 1 week. I'm sure once you start trying it, you'll enjoy how easy learning can become, particularly preparing for the board exams. Number 5, you should try to explain a tough concept to someone that you know. Instead of just reading, understanding, studying, and then trying to recollect that information from your memory, you know what? The best learning will happen when you start explaining to someone. Isn't that true? I'm sure in your batch of friends, in your class of friends, there could be one or two people who might be coming to you and saying, look, do you mind explaining this concept to me? I'll understand better that way. Probably you yourself are a person like that who goes out to your colleagues, your classmates, and say, look, please explain this concept to me. I'll understand it better instead of reading it myself. How many of you do that? If you are that kind of a person, type I in the comment box. Just type the letter I in the comment box. You know what? The human brain has the ability to absorb concepts, and our data gets into the brain through the 5 senses. Isn't that true? There are broadly 3 different senses that are highly effective. The auditory means through the ears, the visual through the eyes, the kinesthetic by doing things some people learn, right? It is found that we are all a mix of these 3 approaches. Some of us have more preference towards auditory. That means you tend to read out loud. Some of you probably do not want to read out loud when you prepare, but you just want to read inside, internally, silently. Some of you probably will learn only when you prepare your own notes. That's said to be kinesthetic. So are you auditory? Are you kinesthetic? Are you visual? Whatever preference you have, once you start explaining what you understood to someone else, you get more clarity. You will also be able to recollect that information in the future at your will, and hence explain a tough concept to someone else once you prepare. And then write your own practice tests, create your own questions. See, preparing for the exam by reading the answers, going through the concepts is one approach. Simultaneously, if you can guess and prepare your own question paper, this year what do you think will be the questions in the exam? Prepare your question paper, a practice test yourself. You will get insights into how the examiner is thinking. You will understand how the question paper, the guy who sets the question paper is approaching, and that is how you will be able to perform better in your board exams. That's all the things that we discussed till now. All of that was related to things you have to do before the exam. Now let's quickly spend a couple of minutes regarding the things that you need to do on the day of the exam. Broadly 4 of them. Number 1, physical preparation. On the day of the exam, obviously, if tomorrow is your exam date, tonight you need to have a good sleep, sound sleep. I am aware, and I'm sure you're also aware, that some students tend to read deep into the night. Probably they go to bed around 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock in the night, and then they find it difficult in the morning to wake up on time. They find it difficult to remain awake in the exam hall. And hence, the suggestion is that you should have a sound sleep in the night, the day before the exam. That's one of the components of physical preparation. The next, of course, have good food. All that I'm sure you know, have good food. And one important aspect is sometimes students tend to reduce the food intake or increase the food intake on that specific day of the exam. Either of them is bad. Continue with the regular intake of food. Likewise, if you're in the habit of, let's say, if you have the habit of taking coffee every day, on the day of the exam, some students tend to avoid coffee, or some students tend to take more coffee, less coffee. Avoiding or taking more or less is not advisable if you're already in the habit of taking coffee. Continue with the regular habit. Don't make changes in that, because we do not want sudden surprises in the exam hall. Isn't that true? And of course, when you reach the exam hall, then the mental preparation also starts. In fact, that mental preparation starts at least 6 months ahead. Now that we have just about 45 days to 60 days before your board exams, I am saying your mental preparation also can start today. You have to start visualizing yourself coming out with flying colors. You should start visualizing yourself being congratulated by your parents, by your classmates, by your friends, by your teachers, that you have been able to score high in the board exams. You know what? A visual like that, once it is created in your brain, it will actually drive you. It gives you more motivation to work harder. And on the day of the exam, obviously, you have to ensure that you reach the venue at least half an hour before the exam time. Most boards today insist that you reach the exam hall at least 20 minutes before the exam time. Please reach there 30 minutes before the exam time, right? And of course, experts in this industry, in the field of psychology or career counseling, also say that you should not plan to now refer to chapters you might have missed preparing. Because in the last minute, if you suddenly remember you're not prepared a chapter well, that could create unnecessary anxiety in your brain. Isn't that true? And also avoid discussion of difficult topics with difficult concepts with your friends, because you might realize the other guy has prepared well, but you're not even aware of the concept. That will also put pressure on you. All this is part of mental preparation, right? And of course, when you reach the exam hall, you sit in the exam hall, question paper is given to you. Quickly scan the question paper. Quickly scan the question paper and identify which are those questions which you are very, very thoroughly acquainted with. Which are those questions which you are not sure about the answer. Identify that first and start writing the answers for the questions that you are sure of responding appropriately. So scan the question paper, create a plan. You just have to spend 1 or 2 minutes going through the entire question paper. Many students who do this have always found to perform well in their exams. So I'm saying the moment question paper is given to you, don't just read the first question and start answering that. Go through the entire question paper. Check whether the question paper is printed both sides or not, right? If that's the case, applicable. Check whether all the questions are clearly visible or not, right? And then once you go through that, each question, just put a tick mark. If it's a paper based exam, just put a tick mark against each question wherever you feel the question is easy for you. Or if possible, just use your own markings, your own codes. VE for very easy, E for easy, right? NS for not sure, if you are in doubt. So like that, if you prepare your codes and write them against each question, later you don't have to spend time analyzing whether you want to attempt that question or not, right? You will save a lot of time in the exam if you follow this approach. And then of course, the moment you find a question that involves writing the definitions or just writing down the essays or filling the blanks, etc., pull out information from your brain, dump it onto the answer sheet. Because sometimes some students tend to put in a lot of definitions into their brain, just waiting to vomit all of that in the exam hall, right? If you feel that you might forget a specific set of definitions or concepts, look for such related questions in the question paper. If you come across a question for which you already have the definition, but if you're worried you might forget it later when you read that question, immediately start writing the answer for that question. Does not matter. The order in which you answer the questions usually does not matter in the paper-based exam. Isn't that true? So dump the memorized information onto the test paper as soon as possible. So that's about things you have to do on the day of the exam. And finally, what do you do after the exam? You might be wondering, are there things I should do after the exam also? Obviously, you have to. What are they? You know that your board exams are spread over a specific number of days. Maybe they're spread over 1 week or 2 weeks time. If you consider the practical exams also, right? If you are a science student, math student, you have practical exams also. So that's where the practicals might start from March mid, and then your total exams might get over by April mid or towards the end of April, which means your exams are actually spread over a period of 30 to 45 days. So after the first exam itself, and after every exam, you have to do this. What is that? Number one, you have to identify what went well. Why were you able to perform better? What helped you answer all the questions comfortably? And you have to do the same kind of preparation for the remaining exams. The second question you have to ask yourself is, what could have gone better? Maybe after appearing for 2 exams, you realize suddenly that you've now been focusing more on the short answer questions, or maybe you realize that you've not been focusing more on the formulae. At least for the remaining exams, you know you have to start doing it. So by analyzing your performance in the exams that you already completed, you will be able to prepare well for the remaining exams, is what I'm saying. And then of course, the third thing you ask yourself is, what would you like to do differently the next time? What changes in your preparation will you do, right? For example, let me give you a short example. It is found that usually some students, not all students, some of you probably are able to study effectively if you do it in the early morning. Maybe you prefer to wake up morning 4 o'clock, 4:30 and continue preparation till morning 9 o'clock or 10 o'clock. Maybe some of you prepare well, study well in the nights. I'm sure some of you are like that. You do not want to prepare during the daytime, but your preparation actually starts evening 7 o'clock. Maybe you want to prepare into the night, maybe till night 12 o'clock, even 1 o'clock. Some of you probably prefer to have a nice sleep until morning 10 o'clock, wake up, have breakfast, and then start your preparation. Some of you probably realize that you learn effectively evening 4 o'clock to 6 o'clock. So you would identify those specific hours of the day during which you actually are more effective in your learning process. And accordingly, you decide to use those specific timings to prepare for difficult concepts and difficult areas, difficult subjects, right? So we understood the various aspects you have to consider before the exam, during the exam, and also after the exam. Now, one question to all of you: uh, in the last 40 minutes time, from whatever we have discussed, I want you to recollect one important aspect which caught your attention, one suggestion, one tip that you found interesting, and please share that in the comment box. So what have you learned today? Please share that in the comment box. I want every one of you to write in the comment box at least one thing that you are able to take, you are able to receive by attending this session today. Please do that, all of you. Please do that. So thanks a lot. It's been a wonderful experience, guys. Thank you for your responses too. Raksha, back to you.
Am I audible?
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm coming back to the comments where we have received one comment from Tanya Shekhawat. Following a study plan is a problem with me. So, do you have any suggestion for her?
So, yeah, should I continue, Raksha?
Yeah. Please,
Yeah.
sir.
One possibility is that Tanya, you should identify one of your close friends, and together you sit and prepare, revise, and review your study plan. And when you both start doing that together, it becomes more of a mutual understanding, mutual responsibility. Your friend will be able to help you out when you are deviating from your study plan. You can help your friend when she is deviating from the study plan. This is one possibility. The second possibility is, as I already explained, usually students tend to deviate from the study plan because they are not sure of their energy levels throughout the day. Sometimes they may feel it's boring, uninteresting, difficult topic, difficult subject, difficult chapter. So as I said earlier, what you need to do is identify which time during the day you have a high energy level. What are those 3-4 hours during the day when you find it easy for you to prepare even a difficult topic, and use those timings to fit into your study plan. Do not have a study plan that runs for 6 to 7 hours at a stretch. Split up your study plan so that you are able to spend chunks of hours, maybe 1 hour time, and then have a break. Another 2 hours time, have a break. This is the suggestion I have.
I think that answers her question. Another question is from Raghavendra Rai. How do we manage the daily routine of study? Because it is crucial factor of a weekly plan of studies.
Yeah. So Raghavendra Rai, as I was saying, you need to first prepare a weekly plan for all the 6 weeks time that you have ahead of you. And when I say weekly plan, let's consider the coming Sunday to Saturday. We know Saturday, Sunday, total 7 days, right from the time we wake up in the morning, 6 o'clock to night 10 o'clock, let's say. If that is your number of hours of wake time, you wake up morning 6 and you go to bed night 10 o'clock. 6 to 10, you have to split up the entire day into slots of half an hour, is 30 minutes each. And every 30 minutes, you have to write what you're going to do. Let's say evening 4 to 5 o'clock, if you want to watch the TV, your schedule in your calendar, in your timetable should say 4 to 5:30 watching TV, or 4 to 5, 4:30 watching TV, 4:30 to 5 also watching TV. And do not fill up all the slots in any particular day. Always have some free slots. Why? We do not know. Suddenly, you may want to actually take a break. Now, when you take a break, your entire schedule should not go for a toss. So to manage the daily routine, you have to plan appropriately. Three things, as I said, have free slots also in your timetable. Don't fill up all these slots of half an hours. Also plan to identify the specific times of the day when your energy level is higher, and then put more slots during that time. And from 6 o'clock to morning 6 o'clock to night 10 o'clock, from the time you wake up to the time you go back to bed, every half an hour should be accounted for. Most students do not do that. They just say in the study plan, I'll spend 2 hours for this today, 3 hours for this, 1 hour for this subject. That is not called a study plan. Study plan is where you create half an hour slots and then define clearly what you will do in each half an hour. I hope that answers your question, Raghavendra Rai.
Yeah, so he commented again in asking average time for 1 day study. He meant to say.
Time, it anyway depends on each student and how many days time you have before your board exams, Raghavendra Rai. I'm not aware of which board you're applying for. However, we know we currently have about 30 to 45 days time before your board exams commence. So on an average, if you spend about 5 to 7 hours a day, I'm sure that should be more than enough. And the number of hours that you spend on any day, it should not be more than the time that you usually spend in your class when regular classes run. Otherwise, you might feel it very burdensome. And these 5 to 6 hours also, you have to ensure there are breaks in between. There are students who are known to spend 10 hours a day, 8 hours a day. If you have only 1 week time before your board exams, you have to do that anyway. But if you have more number of days before your board exams, you can afford to spend only 5 hours or 4 hours a day. Yeah. So CBSE exams are starting in May. You have almost 2 months time, 2.5 months time. You have solid 2.5 months time. That's about 75 days. So if you start even today, tomorrow, spending 4 hours a day, I'm sure you will be able to score the best marks in this year's board exams.
I think that answers. I think we are not getting any other question. So I have one question from you, sir. Like I have experienced and I've seen students, very stressed while waiting for their results. I know. I mean, appearing for the exam is another stress, and during the day, I mean, exam day, and while waiting for the results, they are very anxious, right? What would be the result, and they are really worried if they won't, get the marks as per their plan, as per their benchmarks. So, do you have any tips for the students to deal with this kind of anxiety while waiting for the results, and not to worry if they won't get, what they have already planned for them, because there are so many options available these days. There is no limitations to it, be it like doing engineering or any other thing. So, can you throw some light on this topic, like if how to deal with this kind of stress while waiting for the results?
First thing is that the first thing is, let me answer it in a using an anecdote. See, when someone wants to axe a tree, first you have to focus on sharpening the axe. Sharpening the axe will take time. If your axe is not sharp enough, you will spend the next 3 months time trying to hack the tree. But imagine you spend 2.5 months time sharpening your axe, you'll be able to hack the tree within just 10 to 15 minutes time, which means the amount of time you prepare and create a mindset that will help you perform well is important. First thing. Now, the worry or the anxiety that you may not get the required or the targeted marks happens because you've not been putting the required amount of effort to prepare for the board exams. After the exams are over, 3 things that can be done to address that anxiety. Number 1, before the results are out, you have enough time available on your hands. So now look for opportunities that are available after you're a +2. Do you want to immediately get into higher education full time? Would you prefer to get into something even better like HCL Tech B, for instance, wherein you get the opportunity of learning firsthand from the professionals in industry, also being able to pursue your higher education from one of the reputed universities in the country like BITS? And third option is, see if you can acquire any specific skill. Who knows, that skill you learn today might come in handy in the next 2 to 3 years time. So the time that you have on your hands after the exams are over, utilize for one of these 3 things. Research. What are the next career opportunities? What are the next courses available? What are the employment opportunities available? Would you want to get into HCL Tech B program? What are the eligibility criteria? How do you get into that? What is the benefit of doing that? Research this, because if you engage yourself in such creative activity, useful activity, I am sure your anxiety will automatically go back to the backbench in your brain. And as I said, utilize your time to learn something new, a skill. For example, today technology, digital is around us, which means maybe you may want to learn, put effort and learn how to create a website. Maybe you want to create a blog of your own and start writing your own opinion regarding how the board exams went. Maybe you can plan to learn website programming, or maybe you want to learn polish your communication skills, polish your presentation skills, because we know in the long run, everything said and done, percentages, academic percentages definitely are important, no doubt, but they only help you become eligible to apply for a particular post or a job. Ultimately, the skills you possess, your soft skills, your behavioral skills, they are more important. Utilize the time after exams to enhance those skills. That's what I can say.
Thank you, sir. Thank you so much for uh, for guiding students on this type of stress and dealing, and I mean, help them to how to deal with this, because even I have been through it, and I mean, I'm looking at these kind of sessions right now. I wish I could have these kind of session at that time when I was appearing for board exams. There was no
True.
such kind of sessions, and it is quite productive, and I hope it is productive for the audience who is watching us today. So
Yeah.
there is one question which I want to take it up. I have from Ritik Singh.
Okay.
I have not 80% in class 12th. I am eligible for exam.
So
Okay.
is it referring to
Ritik,
the
Tech B, yes. So the eligibility criteria, and I think you are eligible. You should check to our registrations page or Tech B website. Uh, I'll just reflect the website link over here, from where you can reach out there and check the exact eligibility criteria as per the board. Like if you are from CBSE, ICSE, or any other board, so you can apply there, and one of our team member will reach out to you to answer your further questions. I'm waiting for a few more seconds, sir. If anyone wants some other guidance, there is one question from Abhishek Gardala. Can you please suggest me a plan of action? I think we have done a quite detailed session, Abhishek, on plan of action. You should revisit, this video, which will be available on our Facebook page, on our YouTube channel. You can revisit the entire session and check the plan of action which was presented by Mr. Bhaskar during the session. I think that will be very helpful for you. Uh, I think this is it, sir. And I'm looking at the comments and the engagement which we have received today in the session during your presentation. It is quite productive and
okay.
helpful for students, I believe.
Yeah, I guess
And
so.
thank you so much, everyone. Thank you, sir, for your time to joining us. And I really hope the session was good and informative, which I can see in the comment section.
Yeah.
So, if you want, I'm talking to the audience who are watching us. If you want to know more about TechB program, if you have any other questions, you can visit our website. If you want to listen to these kind of sessions, follow our TechB page, Facebook or Instagram page, uh, and there we conduct these kind of sessions every month, like every week we have a session. So you can keep checking on our social media platforms, wherein we share the information about upcoming sessions. Also, if you have any other question related to anything, any doubt, or maybe you have any suggestions, if you want us to conduct a specific session for any topic which you have in your mind, you can share your suggestions on our email ID, which is drtechb.guidance@hcl.com. It's drtechb.guidance@hcl.com. You can share your suggestions and your questions as well, and we'll get back to you with more informative and more productive sessions which will help you to prepare well in your board exams and take informed steps what to do after class 12th. Thank you so much. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Raksha. Thank you, guys. All of you attended today. Best of luck for your board exams.
All the best, guys who are appearing for the board exams this year. Thank you so much.